Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying time is here. That's right, we're talking about Uninvited on Kill by Kill for Animal Attacks April. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal Patrick Hamilton coming to you once again from the Atlantic Ocean. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where we're dedicated to celebrating the least discussed component of any horror film, the characters. And of course, we're going to unpack all the goriest of details of Greyson Clark's classic Uninvited from 1988 in the hopes that a spring breaker's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes we might make at their expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust not to eat the contaminated food. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
But it's 12 hours and I'm so hungry. I've gone insane with hunger in 12 hours.
Suzanne goes from I just ate to I'm starving and I have to eat food I'm told is poisonous in a matter of minutes.
I mean, time is really unclear in this movie. We've seen people have the same clothes on for days, weeks. I really can't tell.
You're really giving it away, kiddo.
There's not. I forget what I was going to say.
Okay. Gina, I don't mean to scare you, but we're not alone. That's right. I recruited a special guest. You may know him as my son. And of course, he's a returning champion. The one, the only, Oli. Say hi, Oli.
Hi, Ollie.
Excellent. Oli, what was the first time you ever watched Uninvited?
Yesterday, and well, it was an experience to say the least. Definitely one of the movies of all time.
It is one of the movies of all time. You've nailed it.
It is a movie.
It is projected at 24 frames per second to give the illusion of movement. It absolutely qualifies as a motion picture. Now, here's the thing about this movie. We didn't just choose it at random. Once upon a time, I was scrolling for something for Oli and I to do for the day. And I went on the website Fandango.
Oh, I remember this.
And so I saw that a local AMC was showing Uninvited 1988 on the big screen. And I said, that movie's terrible. I should take him to go see this terrible movie. So we bought tickets. We drove down to Orange County and we sat down to watch what we assumed to be Greyson Clark's Uninvited. Turns out it was a Filipino crime drama from a couple years ago called Uninvited. But Fandango absolutely had the poster art and claimed it was Uninvited 1988. We did wonder why we were the only non-AAPI people in the audience. It soon became clear why, because we had been bamboozled by Fandango.
But here's the thing. What if you waited long enough and a mutant cat did show up?
That is true. We didn't give that a lot of play.
No, but we did wait around long enough to experience a gang shootout. Some kids dying? I forget.
Teens shot in the head by gangsters. And at that point, you leaned over and said, I think the experiment is over. I would like to leave. And I was like, okay, listen, I'm going to force you to watch a Filipino crime drama.
I mean, it could have been a great movie. We had no idea.
It was 10:30 at night. You wanted to get some sleep. It's understandable. Uninvited would have been in that delirious state. I think you would have enjoyed it more.
Sure. And it's 84 minutes of
exactly
bliss.
Gina, when did you first watch this 84 minutes of bliss, as Oli has described it?
Oh, I'm pretty positive I had seen it before. But you don't forget a movie like this. I certainly forgot a lot of the more salient details, but you don't remember, you don't forget a movie in which the villain is a cat who regurgitates a smaller cat
right
out of its body, which is also venomous, with a venom that like scanners you, I guess, or
it's what reminded me the most of scanners, obviously. Anything with lots of bladder effects. But this cat seems to operate the same way the demon snake from Spasms operates, where it bites you and you're like, well, I can survive a snake bite. And then all of a sudden you got blood bubbles underneath your skin and you just done
like
blow up.
Your veins are like your arteries are suddenly exploding.
Spasms, though you're not familiar with it, is a killer snake movie from 1982. I want to say. But it had a very infamous VHS cover of a woman in a shower with her face blowing up with giant blood bubbles, as is what happens in this movie. And if you want to know more, join our Patreon, because that was, I think, last year's Animal Attacks April special.
I think it was 2 years ago, I think. But yeah, it's
Okay.
it's on our Patreon archive.
You know, time is a construct. What is it?
Yeah, I don't even remember anymore.
So, yes, I remembered this being awful. I remembered it being particularly bad. I had forgotten some of the crazier elements of it, which really don't start until the last 10 minutes. I would say the last 10 minutes is when this hits a delirious crescendo of madness that had me cackling out loud.
Oh, yeah. My mom, she said she could hear us next week.
Do I believe the first 74 minutes are without entertainment value? No. I wanted to take Ollie to a movie theater to see this, because you're watching it with other people. I think you're going to have a good time. You're watching it by yourself. Things can go from sad to boring fast.
Well, as with a lot of these kinds of movies, you know, anytime the action moves away from the cat regurgitating a smaller mutant cat,
Yes.
it comes to a complete standstill.
It narratively truly terrible.
Well, it's either cat scene or sex scene, and maybe a couple fillers with no content.
Yeah, not even sex scenes, like teased sex scenes, and then they get interrupted by other people or a mutant cat gnawing off someone's fingers.
Oh boy.
I forgot about that.
How can it's unforgettable, kiddo?
Who hasn't been interrupted doing anything by a mutant cat gnawing on your fingers?
So let's get into some context here. This was yet another truly golden piece of cinema brought to us by the one, the only, the Canadian Greyson Clark. Now, if that name is semi-familiar to you, it's because of his other true cinematic classics. Now, if you're an MST3K dude, obviously you have heard of Hobgoblins, of Angel's Revenge, Final Justice. But outside of that, he's also made other terrible movies like Satan's Cheerleaders, Black Shampoo, Without Warning, The Predator Before Predator, and of course, Lambada, The Forbidden Dance.
I'm sorry, Satan's cheerleaders?
Yeah, Satan has cheerleaders. Who do you think cheers him on?
Demons, maybe?
Well,
It's not.
but they have to get into uniform. Kid, come on. Get in the game here.
This is expected knowledge.
Yes. Yeah. Of my son? Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Okay. So Greyson Clark he's terrible at this. But I guess he brought in films at a cheap enough price that people just kept giving him money to make more of them.
I thought it was great.
That was unconvincing. And people are going to hear this. They're going to know.
Yeah, that's going to be up there with the Andrew Schwartz from a very early episode talking about Friday the 13th part. Which one was he? Jason X, where he tried valiantly to convince us that it's very funny.
He tried to talk us off the ledge of Jason X.
You're going to have to fill me in.
It's all right. But we went crazy with Jason X because there were so many dead people in that movie. I think there are 8 volumes.
Yeah, we just
if
had
not
had it by
more.
that point.
It's a crazy amount of dead people to talk about in that movie. Yeah, it just broke us mentally, physically, emotionally.
Got it.
So Uninvited, though, is a lot quicker, a lot fewer dead bodies. But I think with the exception of, smashing one person's face open when it's been frozen, at least it's bloody. So the movie begins with an unbroken establishing shot of a random 20-story high-rise building and then cuts to black title cards. It's just magic.
I knew what I was in for when the first thing you see on screen is Amazing Films Presents.
It's trying to sell a lot. A, that it's amazing, and B, that it's a film.
And that it's presented.
As opposed to you stumbling over it. Yes. And then out of those yellow type on black title cards, in the middle of it just pouring on names to you, it cuts to scientists examining a cat's x-ray. And they're like, look at what's in the middle of this cat. And he goes, we'll go get it and we'll cut it open and we'll see what's happening inside in there. They take it to an exam table. They squirt some liquid out of a syringe, and immediately the cat's like, well, fuck this noise, and runs off. And they've left the door open, Gina.
Here's a question I have. Now, I was not a particularly engaged student in school, but I do recall that in science class, when we learned about the scientific method and how experiments work, you have to have something, you have to have something called a hypothesis.
Sure.
Which is the idea you are floating that you intend to prove with this experiment. I need to ask the both of you, what is the hypothesis here?
I think they're trying to create inner hot pockets inside of cats.
Like the hot pocket will come out and you can eat it? Because that doesn't seem very sanitary.
Yeah, it's like Jumanji. Jumanji come out. Hot Pocket come out of cat. You can put Hot Pocket in cat, but wouldn't it be better if Hot Pocket come out of cat?
Is the experiment that to create this inner mutant cat, or is this a result of a separate experiment?
I think this is just unintended, because I don't think all the cats have uninvited cats inside of them who, at one point, you see the cat crawl into the fuzzball suit and he's going in head first, which means he's doing a U-turn inside the cat, Gina.
Or there's two cats.
There's a cat, there's an inner cat, and the outer cat does not seem to have, it seems to be a suit.
Yeah, the outer cat doesn't really seem to be like down with any of this.
Fuzzball is you would think would be two cat, but really it's more like Tony Stark and Iron Man. Iron Man is really Tony Stark in a suit. Fuzzball is really the mutant cat inside the furry version. And then he's kind of inside out. But then sometimes he's attached and sometimes he can free roam. I don't understand how this monster works.
Yeah, I don't know that he needs to go back inside the larger cat to like recharge or something. Like I don't know why. Like it would make more sense to me if like the in as much as this movie can make any sense, that eventually this little mutant inside cat bursts out and like the bigger cat just dies in the process,
right?
But no, it's just sort of like it's transport.
Yeah, I'm assuming the bigger cat isn't really a cat. It's more of a husk.
But it starts out like when he's first seen bursting out of the mouth, it seems like he's got two front paws, and we've got what I described to you, Gina, as a Kuato sort of system here, where he can't exist. He's like the front half of a mutant cat, and then he gets swallowed back into the full-size cat. And that's why he doesn't come out fully, and he has to use his back legs.
They're still sort of attached then.
Right. But then later in the movie, they're like, I know we've shown you visual evidence that this isn't true, but now we're going to show you the mutant cat crawling back into the mouth of the fuzzy version face first. It's two faces. He's going mouth to mouth. And then I guess K-turning inside of that fursuit to be the regular cat again.
You don't know how much room he has.
Just launch itself out of its mouth again. Yeah, I mean, think about it. When a woman is pregnant, the baby like turns around at some point, so you can go out the right way.
Right. I agree, but he's trying a preemptive breach at that moment late in the movie where he's going face first. I agree. It's easier that way. But then it's like trying to put on your pants, putting your head through the leg holes.
Also, the bigger cat doesn't really seem to be any worse for wear for having this like mutant cat in its body and forcing its way out of its mouth.
It seems to be fine.
I'm sure it's more of a disguise situation.
But it started out as the fuzzy cat.
Yeah.
And the mutant cat developed within him. And then at a certain point, they observe that there's a giant thing inside the regular cat. And they said, let's cut this bad boy open and see what's doing. And as soon as he senses that, he's like, my name's Paul, this is between y'all, and beats feet. And then when he does, one of the scientists picks up a phone and announces that there is a code red. And Ollie's response to this was...
Code red doesn't exist.
Yes, code red does not exist.
at a doctor's office.
Well, a code red still exists in a medical facility because within a hospital system, a code red would mean all hands on deck. Someone's about to die.
Sure, but they don't you think they just yell, someone's about to die instead of code red?
Well, they might be announcing to other people who might have skills that might help in that situation that all hands are on deck. Maybe you have 2 people in a room and they need more people to resuscitate that patient.
I mean, maybe over the loudspeaker, sure.
Well, that's what he's using the phone for. It's a loudspeaker. That's why you can hear it. But it certainly exists, Ollie.
I know.
Okay. You're conceding to that point?
Yes.
Okay, good. We're only 2 minutes into this movie. And I'm already on the edge of my seat hoping that no animals were harmed in the making of this motion picture. And I'm I don't think any animals were harmed in the making of this motion picture. There's a lot of puppets.
Oh yeah, there's insane puppet work in this.
And at this point, we basically get a mini Die Hard, where this cat is now trying to outrun a bunch of guards who are dressed in these elaborate radiation suits.
Let's not say a bunch. There were like 3.
There's 3. There's 2 in yellow, 1 in silver. And we got a real catch that cat sitch happening. The radiation suits, though, leave a little bit to be desired, especially the guy who's donning the silver suit, because he has a mouth hole cut out of it, which looks like mom's scissors. I don't know what was there to begin with, but at the end of it, it kind of looks like, well, we have Ghostface Killer mask at home. It doesn't read like a professional radiation suit.
Yeah, it reads like the actor complained that he couldn't breathe the mask on. So
yes.
the director just told him that just cut a hole out of your mouth.
Just cut it off. No one will care. You're about to die anyways. But this does bring up the question. If these 3 guys need radiation suits, what about the 2 doctors at the beginning of this? Why didn't they need radiation gear? Are they Red Hulks?
Maybe they already have like smaller mutated doctors inside them.
There could be a mini doctor in the doctor. You don't
sure, a doctor inside the stomach. See, this is something you missed because you bailed out of Total Recall when we hit the 3-breasted sex worker in the bar, and you said, "That's it for me."
Oh,
you never
like
met
2 years
Kuato.
ago?
Yeah. I think eventually we should revisit Total Recall.
Sure.
Okay. So they're on the hunt, and then they trap him at the bottom of a stairwell, and then we cut to a bunch of safety signs that just get gushers of blood sprayed off.
It's literally just like somebody squirting it with a hose.
I mean, those safety signs did nothing for these workers, Gina.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You can call OSHA all you want. You can put up all the signs you want. You encounter a mutant cat. Apparently, you are going to explode.
2 things I want to say about this scene. One, I think they really made a terrible decision in not cutting to a sign that says, 1 day without workplace accident and someone switching to a 0.
Yeah.
And also that, you would think that, well, how hard can it be for like 5 grown men to capture a cat? Mm-hmm. And all I will say is, have you ever tried to give a cat a pill? That's how hard it is to capture a cat. It could take 5 men.
Yes. And the 2 security guards that they end up with in the parking garage, don't appear to be in a great hurry. They just come down and start looking around, kind of hunched over, hoping to catch sight of the cat. And then apparently every other on-screen character is a massive mouth breather. They're just mouth agape 24/7 in the sequence.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, is that a cat?
And then one of the doctors grabs a guy's gun and he's kind of like, I was given that gun. And he hunts around for this cat. And all I could think of was The Fugitive, of just Harrison Ford being held at gunpoint on a at that dam and saying, I didn't lick myself. And then the doctor going, I don't care. And he just leaps off.
I do not have a smaller version of me inside of me.
So yeah, it kills off a bunch of guards, a bunch of doctors. Caro syrup is flying. And then the cameraman starts moving around for cat POV.
Oh, that's my favorite part.
what was your favorite part of the cat POV? Because I have mine.
I mean, it's 4 feet off the ground.
Yeah, that's a big one. The other part is you can see the shadow of the camera half the time.
Yeah. He did not film that correctly.
It's like he's got a little GoPro strapped to his head.
He's just you're seeing a guy with an off-brand, handheld camera gliding around on roller skates 4 feet off the ground. There's no way to convince me that the cat is that fucking tall. It's like the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar of cats, according to this camera position.
Well, maybe the little mutant cat got out and was like riding him like a horse.
Not helping, I would say, would be the Uninvited cat theme, which appears to be one finger on one Casio keyboard over and over.
Yeah, I mean, if they wanted to create the sense of a cat walking on a keyboard, they really managed that well. It's like they put like a toy on a key, and like the cat's going like burp.
Just that bird that has water in it just dips over and over and over again, but it hits one key. Everyone dies.
Oh, there were 2 themes. There was the piano and the wind chimes.
Yes. And yes, the wind chimes will enter more when we get into the boat, though.
Yes.
In this early thing, it's an experiment in what that theme will be, but they don't have time to continue that experiment. They'll just morph into something else. But ultimately, that building was no match for a cat. It finds its way out, and it's on the town, baby. And that's where we meet Suzanne and Bobby. Just 2 small town girls on a Saturday night looking for the time of their lives in Florida, I guess. Is that where we are?
Sure.
Or maybe Las Vegas. We can't really tell.
Well, it definitely has the seedy, low-rent feel of Florida is what they're going for.
This is, although it is not mentioned by anybody in the cast, this is supposed to be spring break, so I assume it is Florida.
Spring break in the middle of summer.
Now, Ollie, when you saw Suzanne and Bobby's outfits, did you think that's what normal people wear?
No.
Do you think any of your high school friends would adorn their bikinis with
No, they
that
don't.
outfit?
They don't really walk around with a few strips of clothing on with their bikinis.
Like a bathing suit made out of an ace bandage.
That was what I began to wonder. Like, would Ollie recognize this as that's something that human beings would wear? But in 1988, absolutely, if you turned on MTV's Spring Break at that moment when this is being filmed, you would see hundreds of Southern sorority members in this exact sort of getup. College girls wore, I can't really call them cover-ups. They're more like bikini adornments. It's like a giblet to a crock. It's not clothing, but it's an incredible simulation.
Well, the interesting thing is that these outfits that they're wearing, they have the very baffling effect of making them look older, but not in a good way.
Right. Yeah.
Like as is often my complaint, particularly in horror movies made in the 80s, is these people could be 18, they could be 22, they could be 30, they could be 35. I have no idea. To be described them as spring break teens.
Oh, yeah, teens.
And I'm like, they are definitely not teens.
No. There's no one in this movie.
I mean, one of these spring break teens has a full beard.
And Suzanne and Bobby are, when we meet them, they cannot afford a hotel. They cannot find a hotel. But they've decided to go into the most expensive hotel in town and just hang out in the lobby and just avoid getting splashed with beer as they are outside. And it doesn't take 5 seconds before a hoity-toity hotel manager walks straight off the set of a Marx Brothers film and tries to kick them out of the lobby.
Yeah, he just needs to be speaking that,
I never... And they're rescued, and I'll put that in dick fingers, from expulsion by international man of mustache, Walter Graham. Walter is a financier. His suit must be made of 60% aluminum foil. It's just that shiny.
I feel like this actor is playing like a Robert Evans type.
Right, yes.
Like he's all like, hey, babe, and like snapping his fingers and like practically lighting his cigar with $100 bills.
I would describe the way he says dialogue as operatic, in that There are many, many octaves happening throughout the course of a 5-6 word sentence.
His right-hand man is played by George Kennedy, finally having to pay off a gambling debt, presumably.
Apparently, yeah, he laid some money down on the Rams and bid it hard. And Greyson Clark's like, I can get you 10 large for if you just give me a weekend.
He can barely keep himself from looking embarrassed.
He is very grumpy throughout this. The hotel manager, I might add, also refers to the girls as common college stock, i.e. the worst. Like, these two assholes are going for a degree in higher education, like scum.
Yeah, everyone keeps referring to them as punks. As if they're
yeah, none of these people are teenagers.
Going to college is wrong.
Certainly going to college and then wearing a bikini is wrong. But Walter, like any caring, sensitive man who is either 40 or 60, it's impossible to tell, takes these two barely dressed girls to dinner. No strings attached, in his words.
Wink.
But it feels like he is trying to tie a lot of strings to this meal as quickly as possible. And then we cut to the outside, where a very odd-looking limo pulls up. It's a conversion thing. It looks like the car they drive in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Oh, but don't forget the couple making out on a planter.
Yes, that's true. We start on a couple making out in a planter where the plants live, Gina.
Having a great old time in the foliage.
We don't have anywhere to go inside. We have to make out in the divider between the street and where you pull up to unload your luggage at a hotel.
Well, see, that's why the hotel manager just had it up with these college punks.
But another couple of college punks are walking by as this limo pulls in. And in typical extras fashion, they've been told, I want you to look surprised at this limo. But the way they react to it,
they gawk.
Their eyes could not be wider. It's as if the cat bus from My Neighbor Totoro has just pulled in front of them. The amount of bug eyes they're providing seems excessive despite the oddity of this individual vehicle. They act as if it's sprouted tentacles in mid-transport.
I really want to know what that director told them to do, because...
Or did he not tell them to do anything? I don't honestly know. Greyson Clark is a mystery. He never made a good movie. Why should he start now? The aforementioned George Kennedy is playing a guy named Mike, complete with a comb-over. And then we have another wonderful B-movie regular, Clu Gulagar, as Albert in a driving crooner hat. They are businessmen and they need to do business. It also appears that Clu Gulagar is wearing someone else's teeth in his mouth.
I love it. He's not nearly on screen long enough for my liking. His character, he's trying so much to do something with this character.
He wants to be memorable. I mean, it was the thing that we used to love in Friday the 13th movies, where the start of the podcast was like, how do I make this character pop in the limited amount of time I have on screen? And here's a guy who was on screen for 60, 70 years. And in this nothing burger of a movie, he's like, how do I make myself really memorable? I know. I'll pick up this pair of teeth that I found abandoned in a park and shove them in my mouth exclusively for this role.
I'm going to just add dimension to this henchman by making him drunk and cowardly.
There are more dimensions to him. He is a fully dimensional character. But meanwhile, these two have to get Walter away from this pair of girls so that he can go to a meeting. And Mike?
At dinner,
they're like, let's go. And he's like, well, I'm sorry, ladies. Well, why don't you finish your ice cream? More for you, of course. Like, okay, dude, you're laying it on a bit thick. But the trio is meeting a very nervous man named Daryl, kind of useful idiot who's resplendent in a suit so unbearably brown that it should be banned by the Geneva Conventions. It's horrid to look at. And then Daryl has a way of saying Walter that we found particularly delightful.
Walter.
You can trust me, Walter. Walter, I'd never snitch on you, Walter. That's a T, my friend. And he's bumping that into a very unremarkable behind the teeth D, and it never gets old.
And then they kind of just stick with it for the rest of the movie because then the businessmen say Walter.
Well, Albert in particular says Walter because he is wearing somebody else's teeth. He is wearing a massive set of chompers that are not his. But Daryl is offered $3 million in cash to not say anything to the SEC about whatever shady dealings they're involved in. And he's like, oh, I don't know. And they present 3 briefcases full of $1 million each. And he's like, oh, I don't know. I have a wife. And you know what wives hate, Gina?
Money.
Cash.
Despise it.
Yeah, if I brought home $3 million in cash, Becky would be super mad.
Take that back where it came from.
What are you doing? We have lives. You can't just show up with $3 million in untraceable cash. Okay. So Daryl is somehow involved in this trio's dirty deals. And they're convinced that Daryl's going to flip on him no matter how many times he says, Walter, I won't do it. So they take him for a nice soak in their jacuzzi to die. But before they do, Walter says, make it all bubbly. Just turn on the jacuzzi. Don't say make it all bubbly. Are you 5?
That makes it sound like he suggested they fart in it before they drown him. But like the thing about this scene is like, yeah, obviously it's horrifying to see someone die in front of you.
Yeah.
But what is Clu Gulagar's character name again?
Albert.
But Albert is carrying on like they're chainsawing him in front of him. He's like, oh God. He's like gagging and retching, like he cannot bear the sight of this man being held underwater. Well,
I think it's Clu Gulagar really trying to imbue this nothing burger character.
Yeah, he's just giving this character dimension by like he's like a henchman who can't take seeing people get killed in front of him.
He's a henchman who can't be a henchman.
Right. He's a henchman who is very ill-suited for his job. His job placement counselor really gave him some bad advice.
The way I read it was Albert's always on the verge of a heart attack, which is why he's perfect to be the muscle. You know, it just makes sense. It's a perfect system.
Does it?
Yeah, he's best at like anything requiring you physical tasks.
Yeah, Walter is the brains. Mike is the gruff grandmother who just wants to get dinner made already. And Albert is on death's doorstep and also in charge of anything involving physical activity. So Albert drowns Daryl and nearly dies in the process himself. And Walter's like, can you believe it? He's reacting to the murder of a human being. And meanwhile, Mike is like, can we just have bread already? I'm tired.
But I get it.
Yeah. And then Walter's like, yeah, I'm having this great party and everyone's going to be there. Yeah. And you know what? We don't have enough money to show it. So we're just going to cut to the morning.
Right. We do not have enough money. That whole spring break sequence broke the bank on extras. So there's no way we're seeing that party. Meantime, we're going to cut to what every movie needs, and that's a solid 60 seconds of a cat drinking milk outside of an Arco gas station.
The movie about the cat, and the cat showed up now.
This show, we need to reestablish Cat.
Yeah.
But this is more just like a setup for this rando gas station attendant who ends up getting punched, robbed, and left for dead.
But not before he gives the cat milk. And the cat was like, wow, you're my best friend.
Right. I will avenge you, says Fuzzball, as he leaps into the back of the red truck of the robbers and takes off with them. And somehow, in between these cuts, we have switched to California because everything is brown and the ocean is on the wrong side of the earth, Gina.
Yeah, but none of that matters because we get ourselves a good old-fashioned Toothes the driving cat disaster.
We watch them drive and chuckle to themselves.
We sure taught that gas station attendant a lesson, didn't we?
He was asking for it, just giving cat milk and existing. Meanwhile, we got $60 and a couple of green stamps.
Yeah. Give me the money. No, punch.
And so they take off, and then the fuzzball puppet bursts through the back window of this truck so much that you can see the arm of the puppeteer.
I love it. I love it. Better than a boom mic.
Great on. You want another take where you frame that up a little more close? No, we don't have enough film.
Nope.
We're using like cut ends. Great, sir. Print it. So that truck just takes a header off the side of a bridge into the brownest hill you've ever seen. Because Florida, known for its many brown hillsides, so dry in Florida. Also, the truck has Florida plates in the back, California plates in the front. Perfect. We then cut back to Fort Lauderdale, where the sun is shining and two frat boys are busy reading the Wall Street Journal on spring break. You know, typical frat boy behavior.
Of course. Yeah, somebody was writing the script was, you know what this movie needs? Dorks.
Yeah,
right.
Every movie needs them.
And this movie has three prime dorks. First, we have Lance and Corey. Now, Lance is basically Diet Bluto. He's just weird, wide set fella who wears a dorky hat. As the film goes on, it occurred to me that he might be the love child of Gilligan and the Skipper.
Yeah, that's about right.
Corey, meanwhile, is played by Silk Stockings vet Rob Estes with a blonde dye job that I am surprised he never repeated. He abandoned that hairstyle very quickly. Corey is also dressed in a mix of patterns designed to give standard definition TVs a headache. But soon, Suzanne and Bobby arrive, and so does the fifth wheel, Martin. Now, Martin, as Gino noted earlier, has a full-ass beard, appears to be in his 30s.
Greensbury.
And yes, he's occasionally referenced as his last name, but that last name seems to change throughout the movie. So we're just going to call him Martin because it's simpler.
We can't really tell if he's a cornball or a dweeb.
Sure.
Somewhere in between.
Somewhere in between. But he is studious, and therefore he's the worst, which is why these two dipshits traveled all the way to Florida with him.
Yeah, the classic, we hate you. Come on vacation with us.
Right. Maybe it was his car that they're using, but they hate to be around him. Well, that's the price you paid. He has the car. Anyways, they're all on the lookout for marina ladies because they're classier.
Yeah, I like that reasoning. You don't go in the club. You wait around at the marina.
Yeah,
it's like I need more explanation for this. Why marina babes are on a classier level than bar babes.
I don't know. We live in a town with a legitimate marina, and well, not to mention the fact that I'm married, but I never thought to myself, if I want to watch the ladies, you know where I'm going to head down to? The docks.
I'm going to look for the ladies that are out here to get the free clam bar.
So it's no sooner do Suzanne and Bobby arrive that they invite this motley crew to become their muscle, trying to prevent Walter from putting his mustache where it's not invited.
Oh, yeah.
Get it? It's a play on words, Gina.
What is really uninvited in the scenario here? It could be the mutant cat. Could be the frat boys, or it could be Walter.
Yeah.
Well, then the cat gets invited, so.
Here's the thing about this plan.
Yeah.
So they're going to go sailing. They make it sound like it's indefinite. We're just going to go sailing. Well, for how long? Well, we don't know. But come along with us. Because you could protect us from this man who has brought us on this trip solely because he intends to have sex with us.
Yes. And we're going to take the trip, but we're definitely not going to do that. And you're going to prevent it somehow.
Right. You are going to come along with us. He's going to be okay with this. Us bringing 3 additional dudes along with us. But
they are the most uninvited of anything appearing in this motion picture.
I think that's honestly true.
The limo pulls up outside the marina. Of course, you see the foothills in the background, the famous foothills of the Florida coast. A very hilly, mountainous region, Florida.
Yep.
And Walter decides he has a plan. Just in case Ronald Reagan's notoriously embezzlement investigation allergic SEC is snooping, he'll bring 2 women on board a cruise as cover. It's such a smart plan. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's like, how is that going to throw off this investigation?
And why are they going to investigate people on a boat?
But he's wanted for financial crimes. He's
Sure,
going to the Cayman Islands because he's stashed a bunch of cash there that is untraceable. and he's via insider trading. However, he decided to skim this money that he hasn't paid taxes on. And so for some reason, this trip down there is the SEC will see him get on board with two ladies and go, well, obviously that's not business related to his unscrupulous business tactics.
Oh, he's just going on that boat to have sex with those women. Okay.
A 60-year-old man going on a boat with very young women.
It's like,
Great.
all right, let him go, guys. He's fine.
I don't see anything illegal here.
Everything's
I
on
think
the
we
up and
Problem
up.
with that.
forget the judge's orders. Let's just let him go. Mike is not as convinced. He also says that dumb broads are a pain in the ass. This is Mike's words, not mine.
But you know what? But he turns out to be absolutely right.
It is true.
True.
It's just that Mike is deeply believes in the concept of Saturday is for the boys.
He's just a big old grump.
Yes.
I get it. Mm-hmm. You know, if I was ready to take a nice relaxing cruise and 6 people and a cat showed up, I'd just make a sourpuss face too.
Especially when you're trying to beat the clock of the federal government coming down and putting you in prison.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't need this extra
partner's
headache.
like, we need the girls.
I guess as human shields, that's the only use they would have. But Walter is insistent and he has the boat. So our fearsome Fison pulls up in every piece of clothing that they have worn on this trip. And all of them are a different pattern. All of them are designed to give your brain deep hurting.
Yep.
And in a moment, we will soon discover is actually the movie's main move. The cat is discovered meowing its ass off inside a random box. How does the cat constantly end up inside of closed boxes? We will never find out.
Well, I mean, to be fair, my cat locks himself in our bathroom on a regular basis, so it's possible. Mm-hmm. He knows how to push the door open, does not know how to open the door inward to get out.
See, I have a dog. I have dogs. I don't know this. So perhaps my cat knowledge is simply not high enough to really realize how close to reality so much of this movie is.
He still is not. He's not yet revealed himself to have a smaller mutant version of himself inside of him, though.
No, but Martin does discover a tag on him that says he was a lab experiment. He's like, works for me.
That's fine.
Yeah. Suzanne just picks him up. She's like, I'm taking the cat on the boat.
And that cat does not want to be near her.
Where there's no question that they should try to contact where the cat came from.
No.
The identity, if the cat has any owners. No, it's like, nope, we're just taking him along. Now he's the ship's mascot.
This makes perfect sense to me. Let's get on a cruise to the Caribbean. And so they board a boat. Lance immediately throws up. They end up on the yacht. And Walter's like, get the fuck off this boat. But it's Albert who ends up rescuing them ultimately because he rushes up on the boat that drives you out to the yacht. And he's like, Walter, the SEC, they have a court order. They're coming to take the boat. And he's like, we got to push off. So guess what? Everyone stays on the boat now.
Yeah, we got to go. Except that cat. That's got to go. And then Green's very sorry. What's his name? Martin is like, well, cats are actually good luck. So how about that? And then Walter's like, fine.
That cat is invited.
Yeah, suddenly, like Walter is like, like you're supposed to think he's like this like fearsome guy who has no qualms about killing anybody who gets in his way, and yet he gives in to these people that he's just met like several times over, and always to his detriment.
Yes, the art of the deal apparently is fold immediately when it comes to Walter's business aspect.
It's like, oh, okay, fine, bring these extra dudes with you. Okay, fine, bring the cat. Okay, fine, put these people who have never sailed a ship before. Now they're the crew. Great, whatever.
It's fine. Just call me Walter. So I guess this is what a luxury yacht looked like in 1988. It looks like a barge.
Yep, small boat.
But this is where you meet Captain Rachel. She's very informal. She's kind of in an indentured servitude sitch.
She looks a lot like Suzanne, which confused me several times.
And like Suzanne, she refuses to sleep with Walter. I like her already. So no sooner are Suzanne, Bobby, Corey, Martin, and Lance on board, but they all dedicate themselves to having a general supermarket brand party complete with leftover grapes. It's just like get into a room and shake your booty.
Yeah.
Is about as party as it ever seems to get.
And this looks about as awkward as you imagine any party involving, 5 people who just met 45 minutes ago would go.
It's very middle school dance.
It's very middle school dance. But Walter can already sense that he's losing ground with the 2 girls. Now, there's 3 other dudes who are more age appropriate, even near them, and immediately decides they're all going to do jobs. And that includes cleaning up after last night's party, which involves eating grapes and cleaning up a lot of loose lettuce.
Because we all like to indulge ourselves in a head of lettuce sometimes.
I was going to say the party involved a food fight at some point.
Apparently it was a make your own lettuce bar, but you had to rip the lettuce off of the head by yourself, by your bare hands. And they just stripped it down to its core. We also learned that Fuzzball is on the loose on the ship and cannot shut up.
Meow.
Meow,
Meow.
meow,
Meow.
meow, meow, meow. The amount of meowing versus murder is tipping the scales to 95% meows.
It's a lot of meowing.
When Corey, Martin, and Lance are doing kitchen duty, Suzanne and Bobby come in and try to encourage them with a, have you ever seen cleavage before? And this seems to work on everyone but Martin, who's like, no thanks.
Getting the fuck out of here.
Screw this joint. I would not hire any of these people to do anything.
No.
They are a good mix of patterns and clothing, and that's just about it. Later that night, they have another very muted party in which George Kennedy sits by this bar and scowls at them.
And Walter's eating bananas.
Walter is kicking back in front of the fireplace with a banana.
Here's the thing, as we tracked this over the course of this party, Walter is either consuming dozens of bananas during an individual setup, or he is actually having one banana, and Greyson Clark is so fast at filming that it's just real time and he's editing in the camera. And I'm betting on option 2. I love that George Kennedy just sits behind a bar and scowls at everybody. Seems like a good investment.
Those punks.
The punks doing nothing. And I just have to say it, Gina, This is the weirdest setup for a horror movie we've ever talked about.
I mean, it is. I definitely forgot that it all took place on a boat.
It's basically a one-set wonder.
I thought my memory told me it was all in the laboratory, like the cat escapes and takes out everybody trying to look for it one by one. I did not remember anything about the boat.
Yes, I agree with you. So much of this movie slipped through the fingers of my mind, and I was genuinely surprised to revisit it. The whole Clu Gulagar character thing, I had no recollection of. He's given one job here. It's not even to murder somebody. It's to hold the wheel of the boat in a certain direction. He's like, I think I can freeform this. And then he
too hard.
And then he puts the boat in the wrong gear and gets white wine drunk while doing this.
With 4 sips of white wine, he's knocked out.
But he is eventually relieved. We learned that the boat is helplessly off course because of his drunkenness. And he goes off to find another bottle, a loose bottle of opened white wine, and discovers a fuzzball in another fucking box. In a box. And he's like, how did you get there? And then he spits wine on the cat puppet. And the cat puppet's like, I didn't do anything.
The cat's like, rude.
And then jumps up in his face, bites him in
your face off.
He's going to bite his face off. And then spasm style, his wounds blow up full of bladders. And he's just bloodtastic from that moment on.
And he's given his all to those death throes. He's like, ah!
And he falls off the boat.
He's like that clip of that Turkish movie where the woman shoots the guy 8 times and he just keeps screaming through it all.
He's really trying to stretch that out because the more days he's on set, an extra 500 gets put on his check. The next morning, Mike discovers a blood trail and determines that Albert got drunk, hit his head, and went overboard. And Albert is truly mourned by Walter stating out loud, I'm glad he's dead. Good. Fuck that guy. I hated the way he was almost having a heart attack all the time. I hated his weird teeth. And Mike's like, how are we going to convince Captain Rachel not to turn the boat around? And Walter's like, I got it. I'm going to offer her the boat. If she just gets us to the Caymans, she can own it outright. It's what she wants. And she considers doing the right thing for 5 entire seconds.
Yep. And then Martin finds that piece of bloodstained clothing and he's pulling a CSI investigation.
What is that called? The thing with the giant scope on it and a huge half a compass on it. He's like, give me a magnifying glass. And then he's using it to look at blood samples, after which he goes, this blood, it's 1,000 times normal. What does that mean? What is 1,000 times normal, Gina? Does that mean it's more normal than normal? Or is it abnormal?
It's 1,000 times normal.
Yeah, I honestly don't know that measurement.
I think we should start describing our fans as 1,000 times normal and see if it takes off. Throughout this, it's quite possible that someone off screen is strangling the cat at all times, because no cat I've ever met has made this amount of fucking noise in a row.
No, that's a lot.
Yeah, and at one part, it sounded like the cat was choking. It was like,
Well, technically, it is choking on another cat.
True. Always joking.
That's probably the actual rational part of this movie, and everything else is completely irrational. Walter walks in on Bobby doing aerobics, and then he immediately makes it weird, and then implies Walda's immediately
the Walter technique for picking up the ladies.
He's like, hey, you're going to sleep with me in a Always Sunny in Philadelphia because of the implication gambit. And then
that's exactly what it is, isn't it?
I wonder if this is what gave them the inspiration for that monologue, because it so clearly demonstrates what the implication is. I also want to say, for the record, Bobby's idea of doing aerobics is leaning this way and that.
Yeah, and Walter's like, you could be better than Jane Fonda.
Thank you, I guess.
Thanks.
But Lance comes in to the middle of this and said, like, oh, please do not assault another human being. That's my job, he says.
I was going to say, I find Lance's protests dubious.
But he's like, don't you assault her. That's what I was brought on this boat
That's
to
my
do.
job.
So he goes over to break up that. And then, of course, Mike wanders in and is like, shoots Lance in the arm. Then the cat attacks.
Like, what the fuck are you doing? Shoot first, ask later?
Well, yeah, I think that's the way Mike is operating right now, because George Kennedy wants to get off this film set.
Oh yeah, I mean he's going to shoot the cameraman.
He would do whatever it takes. But of course, Fuzzball enters the picture in mutant form, and Mike shoots at him, and then just random objects in the room, just like attempting to murk a puppet. Yeah. He kills bottles, he kills lamps, he kills the radio that the songs are coming from. Nothing is safe, but he is bitten in the ankle by Fuzzball. And as you might notice, there's a pattern established here. He is not long for this world. It takes longer for him than it does Albert or anyone else. Seems rather instantaneous. But Mike is made from hardier stock. And by that, I mean George Kennedy was not at his flyweight in this motion picture.
No, I think it takes a little longer for the poison to move through his body.
There's a lot of George Kennedy's system to get through before you can start bladdering.
Because when Suzanne eats like the single crouton, like she's affected by it immediately.
Mm-hmm. But it takes at least, what feels like the movie is alluding to, like a half an hour for him to really feel it.
Yeah, and his screams really sell it. Ah! Oh! Help!
They're rather blunt.
Yeah.
In the meantime, the ship's engine dies because Albert put it in the wrong gear. Walter demands that they continue towards the Cayman Islands. And when they go to radio for help, because there's one gunshot victim and one person who's bladdering all over the place, he shoots the radios. so they can't signal anybody. Captain Rachel turns the tide with a fire extinguisher, and wow, Walter is sweating like his accountant has turned state's evidence. This is why you do not sail in knitwear, kids. When we get back to the living room, George Kennedy is shivering audibly. Like, if this is the sort of thing that you always wanted to see George Kennedy really act like it hurts, oh, baby, cue up Uninvited tonight.
Yeah, he's doing, like when you used to have like anti-drug movies and like you'd show the person having like a bad trip and they're just like writhing and sweating. He's doing a lot of that.
The only thing missing is a baby crawling along the ceiling.
Exactly.
While he's going through this mini transformation, we get everyone else debating the whole idea about a killer cat being on board. And at this point, the cat has killed several people.
Yeah.
But
they're like, oh, it couldn't be the cat.
It's absolutely not the cat.
No.
Complete with Bobby saying, I really don't know, at least 400 times.
I mean, it could be the cat, but
I don't know.
I really don't know.
I don't know. I mean, we saw a cat bite him, but I don't know. Cut to the couch where Mike is having a tension headache everywhere on his body. It is a real Bladderfield scanner sitch.
And his leg bone is erupting out of his leg.
And he's got one big alien head trying to hatch out of his chest, which is an entirely different color than his face.
And you think it's about to come out of his chest and it's going to be blood everywhere, but then no, it just kind of sinks back down and then he's like, oh God, and then he dies.
That hurt a lot. This is signaled later on when Suzanne bursts her own blood bubble. I think these things were supposed to explode and they just weren't rigged right. But you're not paying George Kennedy enough to grab his own blood bag. He's like, if it doesn't blow, I'm just gonna die like it says in the script. It's at this point that Walter gets locked in his own room and the rest of the crew just sits around. It's a lot of whining from people who aren't Captain Rachel and Martin. Cut to Lance and Bobby in their bedroom, and they hear a noise from the closet. And what does Lance do? He grabs a flashlight because it's the middle of the day, Gina.
But it's really dark. It's so dark.
It's so dark. I need a flashlight. She's like, all right, I'm going to open the closet door. And the one time in the nearly 9-year history of this show, Gina, that warranted a cat in the closet scare, and they don't even do it.
No, they did not do it. They did not do it.
We had a cat jump out of a fucking refrigerator mere weeks ago, and they couldn't give us one cat out of a closet scare, for crying out loud. It's the only time it's okay, and they didn't do it.
No, the scene is completely pointless. We don't learn anything about the characters at all. They're just like, we heard a noise. Is it in the closet?
We learned that Lance solves problems with flashlights. And
That's
what
not
are those?
Helpful?
No, it isn't. But Lance is stupid. He's a big dum-dum. And that's what we learn. Walda tests Corey with a moral quandary later on in his room. Will he let him go if he gives him $1 million? And Rob Estes is very subtle and gives a very layered performance here and caves immediately.
Yeah, but if he says, open it slowly, one more time, just real slow. One more time.
Because the cat might be in the safe. You don't know. Or
There's
it
a
might
lot of boxes on these ships.
There is a lot of boxes. Martin thinking out loud that the cat is hungry and maybe he might try to eat one of them, but this gives Corey an idea and he runs off to get a tin of tuna. Cut to Suzanne straddling her bed on her knees, taking off her top. Who gets undressed like this?
Suzanne does.
She's the only person. It's like she was trying to up the difficulty of taking off clothes. It's like she was trying to make it, like, this is too easy to just take my top off with my back to camera. What if I make it really hard? She ends up making a deal with Corey, who's being super sleazy and doesn't say I've made a side deal with Walter or anything like that. Just like, stick with me, babe.
Yep. And
Suzanne's like, well, I don't have 2 brain cells to rub together. Sure. Days pass? I don't know.
Maybe.
As Oli said earlier, time moves at its own pace. In this
Very
show.
irregular.
It seems like to the person watching, it feels like a couple of hours have passed.
Yeah.
But again, Suzanne is literally losing her mind over not being able to eat.
I think things are made even worse when Bobby, in the midst of nursing Lane, we learn that the gunshot has left his right arm useless. And then her response to that is, let's make out, because that's what every doctor orders when they hear you might have nerve damage.
Yeah.
It turns out that Fuzzball has been snacking on Lance's numb digits while they make out.
Again, I am not a medical professional. I think there's a difference between I have nerve damage in my arm. You would still be able to feel the pressure of a cat's teeth sinking into your flesh.
Removing not one, not two, but at least 3 fingers.
It might not hurt, but you're gonna feel it.
Do they remove these fingers? Because they kind of just grow back in the next scene.
It's all part of the mutation.
Yes. He grows mutant fingers that are from the inside of the other fingers. But, Lance is very muted in his reaction to this discovery. He freaks out entirely, yells from the top of his lungs, I'm poison, and goes to commit harikari off the side of this boat. And manages to take Bobby with him.
Yeah.
And
apparently they both have like rocks in their pockets because they just like immediately sink to the bottom of the ocean because
she is wearing a lead bathing suit by the sound of she never surfaces.
And Bobby is holding on to him, but not for dear life. She's like grabbing him with one hand.
Right.
And then he just like jumps over and she doesn't even jump. She just kind of falls.
She's sucked in by the vortex of the vacuum of his disappearance off the ship. I'm not really sure how the physics of it work, but she goes over, never comes back.
Just dies immediately, presumably.
Yeah.
Just dies from ocean exposure.
Too much mutation.
Suzanne has something to say about this in the scene after that, in which I don't know, she was going for it. She hoped that the Golden Globes voting body was going to look at this movie. She's giving it her all. When I found out that she ended up on several soap operas, I'm like, this makes sense. Mm-hmm. Now I get it.
She is also the model for Ariel.
And she was the wife who sets herself on fire and stands up even though she's wheelchair bound in Death Spa.
No, really?
Yes.
Is that her?
Truly the greatest actor.
Yeah, I mean, what range? The range.
She can give it all to you. She might be the patron saint of this podcast between these two performances.
But the thing is, like, she's very upset because, it is now settled that it is the cat's fault. It's the cat that's doing this. She will not accept responsibility for bringing this cat on board when she absolutely brought that cat on board.
Emotionally forces Martin to say, no, I insisted the cat be on board before she stops crying and whinging. She hates that she's on diet of leftover cornflakes and champagne. That's what they're using instead of water.
Sounds all right to me. I mean,
Yeah. And so Martin and Rachel continue ship repairs that never happen. Corey and Walter, who's been let loose from his sort of in-ship house arrest, hunt unsuccessfully for the cat. Neither of them are good at their jobs. That's Corey
leaves out some tuna
that he's poisoned.
Yes.
Yeah. But of course, this mutant cat is playing 4D chess with them and doesn't eat it. In fact, he ate his way into the lockbox where all the uncontaminated food is.
He's that hungry.
He is. And he's trying to starve them out. And then Corey, in his infinite wisdom, starts shooting wildly at the cat in the bowels of the ship. And he opens up one hole in the bottom of the boat, which is always a good idea, and then shoots a steam pipe that scalds him to death.
Just melts his face off.
He doesn't even die to the cat.
No, he dies by stupidity, which I think makes sense.
He died as he lived.
This is the scene in which we see Fuzzball re-enter his cat suit face first.
Yep.
Like, someone's going to need to give me a map. If someone can create an IKEA diagram of how this cat works, we will make a t-shirt out of it.
That'd be hilarious.
Suzanne is, in her words, starving to death. Does not trust that the food is contaminated by the mutant monster cat. So she decides to eat some breadcrumbs in the middle of the night.
Starving to death after 10 hours?
That's
10
what
hours.
I'm talking about. She's like delirious with hunger.
She has stopped using lip balm.
Flakes. She just ate.
Her hair is frizzed out. She looks like she's in a White Snake video.
This is like she's like in a plane crash with Uruguayan soccer players. She's just like she's lost her mind with hunger.
It takes about 30 seconds before her neck starts gorging, and it explodes with her help, by the way, because the blood balloon doesn't burst.
Yeah, she just kind of
Gives
holds it and
gives it a squeeze.
Kind of pokes at it till it works.
She kind of pimple pops it.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is the last 10 minutes of the movie. And honestly, if you watched only 10 minutes, this is the portion
This
to watch.
is the 10 minutes.
Yeah.
This is where this movie reaches a fever pitch of insanity. A storm appears out of nowhere. And this is the sequence of the film that actually achieves so bad it's good status. Because this is when the yacht has been replaced by a toy boat.
Yeah, this is 2 weeks in a row now, because we did Food of the Gods last week, which had a lot of miniature work.
Yes.
You know, had a toy VW bug, it had a dollhouse.
But Mr. Big knows how to shoot models. Greyson Clark is fucking lost. And this looks like it was filmed in a bathtub with a garbage bag taped to the bottom of it. And they put in cartoon lightning at one point. It is incredible. The hole that was opened in the boat by Corey's gunshot is now gushing with water. The boat is sinking. Walter, Martin, and Rachel plan to abandon ship. Walter goes, "Hold on, I got one more suitcase full of cash I gotta go get."
Because I'm not going to be rich after this, after I go to the wherever I'm going. Where is it?
They're going to the Cayman Islands.
Yeah.
Walter heads off to his safe to get that last briefcase. And you guessed it, who's there in his bedroom but Fuzzball?
Cat.
And he engages in an underwater puppet fight, Gina, that has to be seen to be believed.
I love it. And yet Walter's death in the end is pretty underwhelming. You know, he just has like a big claw mark on his face. That's it.
He has a claw mark, and then Martin finds him face down in the water and pushes him over.
Like, are you okay?
Are you? Did you pass out?
Oh,
no. Are you just
cat
watching?
got you.
Well, that's the thing. I love that. I love that. You know, these are coded as these are the good guys and these are the bad guys. And Martin is such a good guy that he's like, well, we have to go back for Walter. It's like, you do?
Our patron saint.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you could probably let Walter go down with the ship. It's
My
okay.
favorite guy.
I just love that. Like, if we don't get into this small craft with Walter, I'm going to feel bad about it. Really, really bad. Martin grabs that briefcase too, because I don't know why, but he manages to lower the escape boat, jumps in after. This is the only good plan that is executed in the entire movie. But hold on, everyone. The movie is not over, because Fuzzball, as it turns out, can swim like a fish. Between Fuzzball and the cat from Flow, this is the year of watching cats swim.
I was gonna say,
Except
like indestructible cats, like A Quiet Place Day One.
Yeah. Except the inner cat lost the big cat, so now it's just tiny black cat.
Yeah, his innie became his outie for sure at this point. He's not ever not the puppet version of him from this point on. But we also learn that Fuzzball is able to launch himself out of the water like a salmon going upstream and launches himself continuously at Martin's face. Now, all it takes is one bite and one scratch for you to die.
Yeah.
How many scratches does Martin receive in the course of this multi-fight sequence?
Technically 0, but it looks like about 10 or 20.
No one got the note that they're not supposed to swipe at his face. And he takes a lot of hits, but somehow does not get contaminated. This is prime roll around with it, make it look like a fight choreography going on here.
Who else is there with him?
Rachel. Captain Rachel.
Rachel punches the cat and
Rachel punches the cat multiple times. She has a mean right hook when it comes to puppets.
And then Martin throws the cat off the board, and then he's like, "We're safe." And then no, the cat jumps back
into his face.
They might reuse the same clip. I couldn't really tell.
No, Greyson Clark reusing footage? Oliver, how dare you not have faith in this truly remarkable filmmaker? Well, no son of mine. Anyways, after the third non-bite attack, Martin decides to empty a briefcase of cash and throw it in the water so Fuzzball can pull a Rose floating on a Titanic door maneuver.
I was going to say, he just like boogie boards to the shore.
He just like is floating half on.
Puts his arms on.
Puts his arms stretch out wide to hug this briefcase.
Just waiting for Jack to sink to the bottom.
Just cue up. My heart
The
goes
orange,
off.
the orange cat is like, I'll always love you, inner cat. And they just like drifts away.
Dropping an impossibly large diamond into the ocean. Just is so an image that is so fantastically stupid that I'm in love with it. It's just gold medal filmmaking. It belongs in a museum, Gina.
It does, yeah, it does.
Somehow Rachel and Martin survive with the money, but they don't want to tell the authorities about the money. And the authorities also don't believe them about the mutant cat thing, but who fucking cares? I didn't come to Uninvited for reality.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, at the same beach that the girls in the craft used to call the coroners in 1996. So we're back to Malibu, California, Gina. A black cat washes up on the beach next to a gold briefcase.
Not the mutant cat, just a normal
A
black cat.
Different fucking cat
Yeah,
altogether.
I saw the film. I'm like, oh, that's not even the same fucking cat.
Just a completely different cat. So he's found a different cat suit, or
He just put himself in there, maybe?
He's like evolved.
he's created a different cocoon cat. I don't know how it works. I'm not a scientist. But some rando kid just decides to pick this cat up and walk towards
Pick
camera.
up the beach cat.
Freeze frame on the worst image I've ever seen in my life. Again,
Dun, dun, dun.
the last 10
It's so
minutes
bad.
of this movie are gold. Some of the best footage we've ever amassed. But the previous 64 minutes, I would urge people not to sit through.
Yeah, you or at least just put it on mute.
I love that it was sub 90 minutes, but it was unfun until it became the funnest thing of all time. It's a little bit U-shaped, almost like Killer Party. It's not as successful as Killer Party, but it's the same, like high points at the beginning, saggy as hell in the middle, and then at the end is so loony
So great.
that it's worth the journey. Anything that we missed along the way, Gina?
No, I mean that was a thorough plot recounting. I don't think you missed anything that I would have brought up.
Here's my question.
Sure.
At what point was the cat not invited? The cat was invited the whole time.
I mean, technically, none of them were invited. Like none of the frat boys and the cat were invited. It was supposed to be just the girls.
Yeah, that's true. They're not initially invited. They're accepted at a certain point, but they're not invited.
But-
and he's definitely not invited into the back of that red pickup truck.
But was the mutant cat not invited into the big cat? Because it just seems like those two are kind of chill with each other. So I can't tell.
I don't know. That's a good question, Ollie. You broke me. But here's the good news. We're going to throw a lifesaver out, and hopefully that will rescue the episode when we choose our own death venture. That's where we decide, of the death scene on camera in this film, if you were forced to die in one of those ways, which one would it be and why? First up to bat, we have slashed or bitten by fuzzball. And this happens multiple times. It really depends on the location. You want a parking garage? You want a stairwell?
Well, in the parking garage, you kind of get exploded too.
It's
So,
very fast, though,
yeah.
and you get to wear that cool outfit. Or you could be drowned in a jacuzzi by a almost dead himself, Albert. Or you can be bitten by fuzzball while drunk and then drown. Or you can be bitten on the ankle by fuzzball and explode on a couch. You can be shot in the arm, receive nerve damage, get your fingers bitten off by fuzzball, also drown. Or you could just get pushed off a boat by some doofus. You can get flash seared by a steam explosion that's your own fucking fault. Or eat contaminated food, have a neck explosion,
Burst your own bubble.
or lose an underwater puppet fight to fuzzball. Oliver, you are our guest, and I would like you
I
to
get
go
to
first.
go first?
Yes. That's how much I love you.
I gotta say, Albert is not sounding the greatest. I don't.
Well, first of all, you don't drink. But if I was going to go, I wouldn't mind getting white wine drunk first.
I would probably have to say slashed or bitten by fuzzball.
But where?
On the truck, on the car truck. Scene.
Oh, the truck. You what?
Barreling down the Brown Mountains of Florida.
Sure. Okay. No, that makes perfect sense because you're ultimately you're probably going to die by the car accident first before you really feel the effects of it yourself exploding. That makes sense.
It's my logic.
I like it. Gina, what say you?
You know, I'm going to take falling overboard because I guess she just exploded as soon as she hit the water because it was a quick death. Like she
does just kind of sink.
You don't even see like a hand coming up, waving around. She's drowning. She's just gone.
She dies instantly.
She blinked out of existence.
I am going to go with Albert. I like his driving crooner hat. I like his weird teeth. I like that he's super drunk before he goes.
How'd you handle seeing someone drown in front of you? Would you start gagging violently and acting like you're about to have a heart attack?
You know, I don't take those sort of things well. If you asked right now to drown somebody in our spool, I don't know how I would take it.
I've got a list. It really depends on the person. You know, some people I might be like, yeah, more.
If it was Daryl and he kept referring to me as Paddock, maybe that would push me over the edge to the point I would drown him in my spool. I can see that. So I think Albert all the way for me. But that just about does it. Josh Hollis does all of our artwork. Go to joshhollis.com for things like that. Go to revengebodymemphis@bandcamp.com for this theme and all of our remixes. Go to our Patreon for bonus episode content that is worth your money to hear. And of course, rate and review us on your podcatcher of choice, Apple, Spotify. You can talk back to us there. We love hearing you on all of our socials. We've had an influx of conversation about recent episodes. So find us on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, and not Twitter. Screw that joint. Gina, where can people see and hear more from you on these here interwebs?
I write about television and movies and pop culture on my Substack, GinaWatchesThings.substack.com. And I am on mostly Blue Sky and Instagram under Gina Does Things.
Do it today, people. Check it out. Oliver, people are not allowed to reach out to you.
I'm a minor. Yeah.
You are a
So
minor.
don't do that.
Please
Do
don't.
not try to talk to he is my son. I do not know you. But if you have questions for him
This
about
is
this,
not a Walta situation. Don't do that.
don't do that. I will drown you in my spool.
He will drown you.
But if you have questions for him, you can filter them through me. That's absolutely fine. That just about does it for us this episode and for Animal Attack April 2025. But don't worry, folks. The body count will continue. For myself, for Gina, and for Ollie. Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.